With Ash vs. Yugi finally releasing 3 episodes after its intended placement, we have now reached the conclusion of Season 2025 of Death Battle. So to celebrate this, I'll be ranking all the episodes in that season, as well as Season 2024, because there's only 4 episodes, so I might as well throw that in as well. To be honest, I don't really have much else to say, so how about we dive right into it?
I'm the fucking god of war.
You know, I was quite excited for Kratos vs. Asura. Not only because Kratos at the time was easily one of the most highly requested characters to make a comeback, but also he's being put up against Asura, whose game I played after seeing this matchup in the Tournament of Champions and loved it. But the fight itself, to be honest, I couldn't help but be underwhelmed with this one. The music didn't seem to fit for an action sequence fight. I feel like something more Fireborn-esque would have been better suited for a fight. But as for the next part, I think Asura was kinda done dirty. The whole fight just felt like Kratos mid-diffing his way through all of Asura's transformations, then winning. Like, I get why it is. Asura has a lot of transformations. Meanwhile, the closest thing Kratos has to a transformation is Spartan Rage. And even then, it's more of an adrenaline rush if anything. And while the animation lasts 6 minutes, far more than most of the recent death battles, the budget's only so high. The fight itself is just disappointing as shit, but I think the problem is because the way Kratos and Asura fight just don't mesh all that well. Asura flies around in space super fast and plays ping pong with stars. Kratos, on the other hand, while clearly stronger than the average Joe, is a lot more grounded, just lifts up trees and I guess punches kinda hard. To be honest, if we have to deliberately limit one of the characters just so a fight can work for the guy who's fighting, then it goes to show this is a mismatch. And don't get me started on the post-fight analysis. Really? Kratos holding his hand in front of his face when he gets engulfed by Helios' light puts him at light speed?
Peter, according to this, you're not a genius. In fact, you're mentally retarded.
But then there's the alternate ending, which narratively feels more satisfying, but was still more respectful to Kratos than Asura. And they have the gall to say we need an Asura's Wrath too. If you want my opinion on that concept, you can check out my Asura's Wrath review I made 2 months ago. But yeah, Asura's Wrath may be quelled, but the God of War is still going despite his Ragnarok. And I think his future adventures will go as swimmingly as can be.
Big monster!
3rd time's the charm, they say. But was the episode any good? Well, the analysis was good, so much they managed to summarize Singular Point, to the point where it actually makes sense. As a guy who watched Singular Point but didn't understand a thing that happened in the anime, which is probably like 99.9% of you guys, it's interesting to see just how busted Ultima really is. The animation itself was solid too, but the fight? It left a lot to be desired. My main problem with this one, just like with Kratos vs. Asura, Godzilla was just done dirty in this one. Like, all he really did in this fight was spam blasts. I was really hoping he'd use his wackier abilities, rather than just implying the Ultima shenanigans. Hell, I wanted to see Worldbreaker Hulk tangle with Burning Godzilla. I wanted to see Trueform Ultima, which is supposedly bigger than the universe, make an appearance and go batshit on Hulk, just like how the fan arts portray it. I wanted these guys to go cosmic, like in Hulk vs. Broly, and even that short sequence in Godzilla vs. Gamera. People say cosmic fights on Death Battle are getting old, but to be honest, I think taking characters who are clearly capable of going cosmic and just having them not go cosmic is getting old even worse than the cosmic fights themselves. Also, I didn't like the fact there really wasn't much destruction here. Think about it. Hulk and Godzilla are both known for destroying shit in their path and leaving nothing but wastelands when they're through. But this one, despite lasting for days straight, the city is just still there. There was far more destruction in Hulk vs. Broly, and even in Hulk vs. Doomsday, in the span of like 3 minutes, than Hulk vs. Godzilla in the span of days. Speaking of Hulk vs. Doomsday, I can feel the raw anger and destruction. It gives me the testosterone I need to fuck my own wife. But Hulk vs. Godzilla, on the other hand, is something my wife's boyfriend puts on to simmer me down, all the while he wrestles with my wife in the other room. I miss my wife, Tails. Maybe I'm expecting too much, I don't know. But maybe I'd be expecting more out of an episode that was literally delayed a week. Which, funny enough, Godzilla's fight against Gamera in Season 2 was also delayed, believe it or not. But also, they stated this episode was delayed because they were trying something with this one they never did before. But like, it's been about 4 months, and I'm still trying to figure out what that is. Is it a win based on intelligence? maybe, but I don't think that would be enough to justify a week-long delay. It can't be the days-long fight, because that was just a time skip with the occasional flashback of Bruce building the gauntlet. We may never know, but alas, I have made my singular point about this.
Stop posting about Among Us!
And now for the stupidest episode ever. I mean, this episode is intentionally stupid, so I guess it checks out. But anyway, I was never really a fan of Among Us vs. Fall Guys as a concept, and not gonna lie, I'm not really a fan of the final product. First off, the only thing they have in common are bean people from 2020 and dead memes. Also, fun fact, the rivalry between Among Us and Fall Guys only lasted for 2 months, so it's not only a dead meme, it's also a dead rivalry. I was also not really a fan of how they went about analyzing these characters. I mean, the crossovers are one thing, but Twitter shitposts made specifically for the sake of bullshit were really doing this shit. And the fight wasn't really that much better, to be honest. Like, they spend most of the fight playing a Fall Guys game, the imposter can't do shit to the Fall Guy, then from there it's just random bullshit go until the imposter gets ejected. And by ejected, I mean fucking murdered. I don't know, I was trying to do a funny. But anyway, I just don't like the idea of taking characters that don't fight and putting them into versus settings, and going as far as scrolling through Twitter shitposts just so you can make a fight work. It just doesn't sit right with me. There's more than one way to appreciate a character, guys. This is my I do not care about the Godfather take, and I know I'm gonna get shit for it by Death Battle's toxic positive fanbase. So, bring it on, I guess. I don't know. I've been waiting to state my case about this.
Think, Mark, think!
And now for the beginning of the Kickstarter era. After they literally fed Homelander to him, they decided, hey, let's give Nolan an actual fight. Though if we're taking Super Saiyan into account, I'd say this is basically Omni-Man vs. Homelander in reverse. But yeah, the analysis was solid for the most part. It actually made me remember just how badass Bardock really is. But other than that, there's not really much to say about it. But the fight? Well, it's fine, but it could be better. As I said about Kratos vs. Asura, this fight felt like Omni-Man kinda mid-dipped his way through base Bardock, Ozaru, and even Super Saiyan. It's also because I saw the storyboard, and it is just much better. It's brutal, it's bloody, and we see Bardock fuck up Omni-Man a bit. Goes to show this time around he's not fighting a bully, but rather another warrior. But in the animation, it seems like Homelander did more damage to Omni-Man than Bardock did. And of course, the bugfucker beating Super Saiyan Bardock is just flat out wrong. Like, sure, experience is a clear-cut advantage for Omni-Man, and I guess I could maybe see Nolan taking stamina, but everything else is very clear-cut in Bardock's favor. Remember how they cited Omni-Man destroying Viltrum to give him a strength advantage? Well, what if I told you he needed help from 2 other guys? What if I told you they needed a specific gun to destabilize the planet? Actually, what if I told you they each had to hit the planet in a specific way, otherwise all 3 of them would have died? Meanwhile, they compared that to King Vegeta destroying 3 planets like they're nothing, just by waving his arm. Just from that, he can easily be upscaled to star level, if you really think about it. And of course there's the whole sun disk thing that haunts our dreams, which is really a whole nother can of stupidity. I just don't know what the hell they were thinking for this one, not gonna lie. I like to think they were in a rush and wanted to get this one out as soon as possible, especially since the animation looks a bit rough. But regardless, they are not beating the biased against Dragon Ball allegations. I'm just saying, if this had proper research, Omni-Man would have lost this fight, bar none. This wasn't in my 2025 bingo card, but I'll take it. For the 3rd time in a row, in the Kickstarter era, Moro cooked with the animation once again, and would disappear for 5 episodes as I'm recording this. I really like the references they put in this fight, like for example, how they referenced how they had Spider-Man kill Batman back in Season 1, and the iconic upside down shot from Into the Spider-Verse. But I'll be blunt, this is without a doubt one of the prettiest fights in Death Battle history, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's one of their top tier fights. The fight was relatively short, even by Death Battle standards. The choreography wasn't all there. Also, since this seems to be a hot take apparently, I actually agree with the outcome. No, Patrick, a street tier Marvel character punching Galactus in the face one time in a one-off issue and not doing anything on that scale ever again doesn't make them multiversal. And besides, those feats happen under very specific circumstances. For example, when Miles fought Null, who was not only a significantly weaker Avatar, but was also specifically weak to Miles' Venom attacks. So in the end, Miles is really nothing more than a singular victim in Deku's rampage against Street Tears. I guess you can say Deku is miles above him.
Rip and tear until it is done.
And now for one of the biggest stomps in Death Battle history. Like, seriously, what were people thinking when they voted for this? I find it so funny they didn't even bother waiting for Dark Ages to come out because, again, the conclusion is so fucking obvious. This whole fight was just Master Chief on the back foot with Doomslayer aura farming all over him. They had Doomslayer use his normal-ass blade, not even the Crucible, against Chief's energy sword. Like, they didn't even try making it look close. Even Death Battle knew this was one-sided. Oh well, at least the animation was good. The thing is though, was this really necessary? I mean, yeah, it won the rematch poll, but let's be real. Literally everyone and their mother agrees Doomslayer absolutely wipes the floor with Master Chief. And it's not like Doomslayer is really known for being respectful to his enemies. Not to mention, the OG episode still holds up. Also, I'll be real with you, this one's not exactly a thematic matchup. Like, what's their shtick? Green guys with guns? Ooh, how clever. And I say this as a bigger Doom fan than a Halo fan. Putting a dude who literally killed Satan against a guy who's essentially Space Captain America just felt like a waste and, dare I say, felt like kicking a franchise while it's already down. Master Chief should have fought Commander Shepard from Mass Effect, and Mewtwo vs. Shadow should have been a rematch. I'll take no further questions. Master Chief was a doomed guy from the start. Don't worry, one of the cartoon animals of our childhood actually died this time. This is another episode that didn't really stand out much to me, but I did learn a lot from this one. For starters, I did not know Tom and Jerry lore was this complex. Those are gotcha games for ya. But yeah, I remember watching quite a few episodes of Tom and Jerry when I was younger, but I do not remember Tom destroying a meteor with a Kamehameha. But the fight itself is relatively solid and as I expected it to go. It had the feel of a classic cartoon episode, which, yeah, that's kind of what it's going for. Also, if I had a nickel every time Death Battle made a fat lady joke with a big-ass bomb, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? But of course, they just had to do the classic Wile E. Coyote gag with a painted wall. Also, I gotta say, this verdict makes sense. Only one of these guys has a gun that negates Toon Force, and that just so happens to be the only thing either of these guys have that can kill each other. Yeah, I'm glad to see they found a valid argument against the whole Wile E must always lose trope. But yeah, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want some heavenly puss. But I Wile E gotta say this, Tom just wasn't feline right for the job.
Every time I close my eyes, wake up feeling so horny.
And now for the fight, everyone agrees is a stomp, but no one can agree who's doing the stomping. First things first, I must say, I don't know jack shit about Persona, so I can't really verify anything they said about Joker, outside of him being the son of Dante and Bayonetta, which, not gonna lie, just might be my favorite ship of all time. I can, however, give my 2 cents, or I guess maybe 5 cents since the US isn't making pennies anymore, on Giorno. Which, by the way, why are they saying Giorno? It's Giorno, the I is silent. Stupid. Fun fact, they also pronounced Diavolo wrong.
Diavolo.
Actually's aside, the fight was pretty solid. I don't really got much to say about it. The verdict makes sense too. Joker has like a bajillion personas, whereas Giorno only has one stand that has a Super Saiyan-esque power boost. And not to mention, Persona as a verse is just low-key busted, like most JRPGs. The only reason why this matchup is even a conversation is because of Gold Experience Requiem, which Joker literally has a perfect counter for. But I find it so funny, one of the main reasons Giorno lost is because of his own father. Dio? If your alternate universe counterpart who I want to see fight Infinity Ultron didn't clash with Gold Experience Requiem, Giorno would have won. But I gotta say, I never see it coming. Giorno did not have a chance. I am not a joker about it.
Get your hand off my penis!
I sure gotta hand it to ya. I was very stoked to see my boy Shiggy finally get a death battle. As a Shigaraki vs. Kabuto fan, I was a bit bummed out when this was revealed, but I see why they went with this one. Also, as a guy who draws on a regular basis, I know for sure Moro had a hard time animating this one. I mean, do you know how much of a pain in the ass it is to draw hands? Like, I still can't get that right. But yeah, I don't have much to say about this one. The gore was raw. Mahito surprisingly put up a fight, despite the fact everyone and their mother agrees Shigaraki wins this one. We also got a waifu who people named Baddie, cause, well, gooning is funny. And also Mahito ended up being treated like a bitch in the long run, which is based. But I guess you could say he could use a hand.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But while I like the way they handled it, it's not really my favorite episode, as you can see. But I know an anime character that would absolutely love this one. Mahito just didn't have the proper hands to throw at Shiggy.
The things that can't be defeated are heart, soul, and the bonds of friendship.
And now for the 200th episode of Death Battle, the most epic battle with gardening equipment yet. This may seem like a rather odd choice if you don't know the full context, but if you do, it makes enough sense. First off, I don't know how anyone thought Ruby was gonna win this one. Like, I'm sorry, but she doesn't have a shot in hell at beating Maka. She gets her ass beat by the 13-year-old every day of the week. I've seen people bring up BlazBlue, but they didn't give Godzilla any feats from his Marvel crossover, so why would they do that for Ruby? But I'm getting sidetracked. The fight itself was goated, I liked the choreography, the characters were done right, the research was done right, and all in all, I don't really have much to say about this one. It was just a really cool episode that honors Monty Ohm's legacy excellently. Also, thank God they did this instead of Master Chief vs. Samus. Though I gotta say, the 200th episode should have been Goomba vs. Hot Dog. But I guess you can say Ruby's soul has rose to the afterlife with her creator.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
And now for the first time a Blade project was released on time. I went into this thinking Blade was gonna take this one because, well, he's a Marvel dude. But damn, Buffy is just built different. I mean, tearing down buildings by fucking and a multiversal axe? And yet the Marvel fanboys are convinced Blade takes this. But that aside, this live action fight was hella based. That choreography is easily one of the best I've seen in Death Battle history. I also like how they got the Death Battle crew to cosplay as vampires in this one. Blade's voice was weird though, but the thing is, casting people for live action is entirely different from animation. You see, for animation, you just gotta find a guy who can get the voice right and can put a good amount of energy into it, then you're good to go. For live action, you have to find a guy who not only looks the part, but can also perform all sorts of crazy maneuvers. Not every black guy with sunglasses can do that. And let's not forget, the budget can only be so high, so it's not like they could have gotten Wesley Snipes himself to revise his role, so Fiction Stegel is our best option. And other than the voice, he nails just about everything else. Buffy was on the back foot the whole time, but given how Blade has a clear-cut versatility advantage, I say it makes sense. But I don't really have much to say. Also, guys at Death Battle, you're probably not watching this, but just a word of advice, chill out with the Marvel dudes. You guys are only pumping out 12 episodes a year now, with 4-week waiting periods. Give some other franchises a chance to shine. But I guess you can say Buffy is a cut above the rest, no matter how you swing it. What, you think Blade should have won? Don't get ahead of yourself. Oh wait, Buffy beat me to that one.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!
And now for the latest Sprite episode. With this being the most highly requested comic fight of all time, I had very high expectations for this one, and I gotta say, this lived up to them. I also find it funny that not only did Spawn get his run back exactly right after his previous opponent, Kratos, and they basically confirmed Spawn would still win if he were to fight Kratos today, but his second episode was so much better than the Shovel Knight victims. Speaking of Spawn, I knew he was busted, but I didn't know he was fucking with reality to bring himself back from being permanently dead busted. This fight is just pure aura farming, with one badass moment after another. And of course, I can't just not glaze the final act, with Zarathos and Divine Spawn clashing with Heaven and Hell in the background. Though it's not really the same after the Welcome to Hell motherfucker line was removed because it got age restricted. Yeah, that happened. Homelander getting his jaw snapped and force-fed his own heart while his skull gets crushed is fine, but Spawn saying no words, that's where they draw the line. This is the same company that shows porn ads to children, by the way. But I'm getting sidetracked. For the longest time, I was never sure who would win this one, but when they went over Spawn and gave their reasoning why he won, I think this verdict makes sense. I also find it funny the reasoning for Spawn winning is similar to why Ghost Rider won against Lobo 6 years prior, with that being the loser has the power advantage, but the winner just has so much more going for them. But both of these hellish edgelords were handled with justice. I guess you can say this is one hell of a fight.
Except I'm not gonna piss on the earth. I'm gonna go higher. I'm pissing on the moon!
Finally. It took us 12 years to get another army fight, and now we got one. This time it is between the two most iconic video game villains of all time. The analysis was decent enough, but the real nail in the coffin was the fight itself. And I gotta say, Moro fucking cooked. The excellent hand-drawn animation, Metal Sonic aura farming, the alternate scenarios, and who am I to forget about Infinite getting neg-diffed by a thwomp? Not only was that so iconic, Lessons in Meme Culture made a video about it, it also did the impossible and united the Mario and Sonic fan bases, where they would mutually shit on the character. And of course there's the track Game Over sung by Victor Borba. Wait, they had Victor Borba, Tyson Yen, and Casey Lee Williams. Come on, Kellen Quinn! I know you want to sing a death battle track. The fight was phenomenal, but my main problem with this episode is the post-analysis. They made it seem like Eggman had no chance whatsoever, when in reality it's actually an extremely debatable matchup. Both Bowser and Eggman have so much bullshit going for them, you have to wonder how these guys lose to a plumber and a hedgehog. But what really grinds my gears is this one thing. Bowser wins because his army likes him. Like, what? Buddy, I don't think an army's admiration for their leader really matters when the other guy's army literally has no free will to go against them whatsoever. They are specifically built and programmed to fight and conquer. So I don't really see how that's relevant in a fight like this. Maybe you could argue Bowser's army is better in variety and abilities, and being able to cover for each other's weaknesses, but what good is the power of friendship when Metal Sonic, as Boomstick put it, can literally solo and blitz through most of Bowser's army in one fell swoop? At least Eggman would have a chance to get his first W if his Archie counterpart gets to fight Lex Luthor in the future. Wait, you're telling me he loses that one too? Shit. This episode isn't perfect, but hey, trying to find a death battle episode that aces every single factor is like trying to find an adult Roblox user that isn't a pedophile. It's not impossible, but damn it, is it hard to find. Looks like instead of turtle soup, we're getting some scrambled eggs. Time, huh? Thanks for the tip. Oh, wait, wrong lantern. I never watched Gurren Lagann, and admittedly would have never found out Kyle Rayner existed if it weren't for this episode, so I didn't really have any expectations for this one. Okay, maybe I did, because Will of the Drill is peak, and Super Tengen Toba Gurren Lagann is like the largest character in fiction. But anyway, this fight was peak fiction. The animation, the insane scale, the absolute bullshittery these characters represent. This is a cosmic fight done right. There's also a lot of cool Easter eggs, which may or may not be hints for future death battles. I'm pretty sure none of us expected Simone to win, because, well, DC characters in the comics are just plain busted. But hey, I ain't complaining. Other than that, I don't really have much to say about this episode. This whole episode was just hype moment after hype moment, from beginning to end. And also, Simone's just built different. I mean, if you have a higher calculated speed feat than fucking SpongeBob SquarePants, you're bound to be pretty busted, right? I will say Simone is the GOAT, but I don't mean to drill it in your head. Wait a minute, since all humans have spiral power, does that mean I can do the shit Simone does too?
The only fantasy here is yours, and we shall be its final witness.
Oh man, the Devil May Cry fanboys are sure gonna hate me for this one. Look, I was rooting for Dante too, but seeing how the fanboys acted, I'm glad Clive won this one. I'm just saying. But yeah, I am a fan of both characters. I love Devil May Cry, I love Final Fantasy XVI. You could say this made it so high because of media bias, but this death battle featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series was excellent. Animated by Tori Ann, who animated the older 3D death battles that were jack full of unnecessary but badass flips. And holy shit, the CGI in this one puts Marvel to shame. The analysis was also solid, especially Clive's. We went from Boomstick simping for female characters in the early seasons to Boomstick simping for Clive. I mean, hey, if you're gonna sexualize women, you should sexualize men as well. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first ever time Clive was ever properly power scaled. Before you ask, no, YouTube shorts don't count. This fight was also full of references to the video games, my personal favorite being that reference to Dante and Virgil fighting in the rain, with Dante and Clive shattering the fragments of the Mother Crystal. And who am I to forget about the other peak moments, like Dante moonwalking out of the way of Clive's attack, and the Sin Devil Trigger vs Ifrit Risen section. Is it just me, or is Sin Devil Trigger Virgil vs Safer Sephiroth looking really appealing right now? I also like how, unlike Bowser vs Eggman, they actually made it out to be a very close fight, with Clive only ever taking the edge in endurance, which I thought would go to Dante due to his busted regen, but the way they explained it, contrary to what you may claim, makes sense. While Devil Trigger could last longer than 6 minutes, first off, that's just regular Devil Trigger. Second, Dante's other abilities, including Sin Devil Trigger, burn through it faster. Think of it like Gogeta or Vegito. how while they do have established time limits, they could defuse sooner if they use too much energy. But yeah, that's all I got to say. You can live in the fantasy Dante won, but in reality, you may be the ones with the final cry. And I will say that 16 times, just to make sure the 5 of you understand.
It's time to do.
And now for the battle of our childhood, which just so happens to dethrone Kratos vs. Asura as the second longest episode, only shorter than Goku vs. Superman 1. Like Bowser vs. Eggman, Ash vs. Yugi is an army fight of epic proportions, this time in 3D. You know, for the longest time, I thought this was going to be in sprites or hand-drawn, but I was pleasantly surprised by this. Like seriously, for the first time this animator did a 3D animation, this one was excellent. The analysis is very lengthy, as expected going over each Pokemon and duel monster these dudes wield. I also really liked the homage to Pokemon Red and Blue they did in the beginning of the fight. Same goes for my goat Crocodile going out protecting Ash. Really, I could go on all day talking about things I like about this fight. It's just so bonkers. I mean, only on Death Battle can you see Incineroar suplexing Celtic Guardian and Oshawott simping for a Silent Magician. But yeah, the verdict makes sense. I mean, Solgaleo, lighting up the universe with Sunsteel Strike is cute, but only Herakti is a multiverse-creating goddess. But damn, my goat Charizard just can't catch a break. Oh well, at least he wasn't exploded from within or vaporized by a fire spirit bomb this time. But it's okay. Charizard will come back for a 4th episode and will fight Rathalos from Monster Hunter, and he will win. Trust! Now what are you waiting for? Start crying so they can come back to life. I mean, that's what happened in the first movie, right? But yeah, Ash just didn't have the mons to win. In the end, it was never a pharaoh fight. Do you agree with my ranking? Let me know in the comments below. What is a death battle you would like to see in the future? I got a bunch I'd be interested in. So much so, I'd be willing to make that its own video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and look forward to what I got planned next. I've been streaming a lot more lately, so feel free to stop by when you get the chance. But yeah, until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya, chump!